Citi is cutting 20,000 jobs. This is one of the biggest banks in the world, like top 10 biggest. Posts almost a $2 billion loss in one of the most disappointing quarters of the company's entire history. Now, people are like, no way. Citibank is cutting 20,000 jobs. But surprisingly, they really are doing it. Because they've announced that 20,000 jobs will be cut in the next 2 years. And it's not just Citibank doing this. You got Goldman, right? You got JP Morgan. You got some of the biggest brokerage firms doing the same thing. It's because a lot of these companies are facing what you call a high interest rate environment. It's being very, very difficult for a lot of companies to expand, and the way they expand is borrowed money. But it's so expensive to borrow money right now, nobody is really expanding stuff. This is why the job market is so weak. This is why our GDP isn't really so hot. This is why so many people are being laid off, because companies aren't expanding, companies aren't making money, thanks to high interest rates for the past 2 freaking years. So 20,000 jobs is gone. And this is actually pretty legit because a few months later, big banks like Citi are continuing to lay off employees. Now you may also be asking, what about the new college grads that graduate? It's going to be very difficult for them to find a job. It's easy to find a job that's $30,000 to $50,000 a year. But it's hard to find a job that's over $70,000 or over $85,000 a year. Those are the jobs are often gotten by people who are more experienced. And those are the jobs where 1,000 people line up and only like a few doesn't get in. Big banks like Citi don't need that many employees. They don't really need that many top-notch workers anymore. They're firing some of the best positions out there and they're closing it. It's never coming back again. And U.S. banking giants are continuing to shed employees, with Citigroup seeing the biggest drop. I mean, recently the headcount of Citi declined by 2,000 employees in the most recent layoff. And these layoffs are coming faster than ever before. They really want to hit their quota of firing off 20,000 workers. Now, before you guys give Citibank a lot of heat, it's not just them closing a bunch of offices and firing thousands of workers. Even Charles Schwab is doing this back in 2023. Schwab lays off 2,000 workers, reducing San Francisco office space, closing branches in Milwaukee, for example, and closing their office in Portland. Now, a lot of these layoffs are happening drastically. And with more of these layoffs happening, we are seeing a lot of these big companies actually saving money. Schwab has said that firing 2,000 employees and reducing San Francisco office space and other offices is saving them like $500 million a year, which a lot of other companies are trying to replicate. And Goldman, even they are laying off thousands of workers. They plan to lay off 1,300 workers, recently announced, and they're doing it. And we're seeing the international markets dropping employees too. Right now, it's just so hard to find just any sort of decent job. Like I said, if you want a job that's $15 an hour, it's very easy. If you want a job that pays close to 6 figures, that's very hard. And many people are finding it very difficult to buy stuff. This is why consumer spending is so low. Many people are more frugal. People are starting seeing layoffs happening more often, and also pay not being so great. Fidelity, one of the biggest brokerages in the world, even their international employees are being laid off. Fidelity International laying off 1,000 employees globally. So we're not just seeing layoffs domestically, guys, but our domestic companies are laying off employees overseas. This is just how bad the situation is getting. It's high interest rates for the past 2 years. Americans are more frugal than ever before. The amount of people getting their cars repoed is sky high, and foreclosures are shooting up. These are all very, very scary stuff, and then when you add in stuff like this, it makes it even more scary. Like, for example, this high-end San Francisco office building next to the water is trading for a 50% discount. What in the world is going on? You gotta know, a lot of these massive skyscrapers in Chicago, New York, LA are owned by banks, small, medium, and large banks. And when you have buildings dropping 50% in value, which is happening more often than you think, many of these banks are now cutting employees, they're cutting office space, and they're very, very scared. This is the type of environment that we're in right now, and we don't really know if the commercial real estate will recover. Commercial real estate market right now is absolute garbage, and it's really scary to invest in. But so far, Citigroup is still cutting employees. They want to fire 20,000 jobs. And as quarterly profits become worse and worse, we're going to be seeing more job layoffs than ever before.